right, today on the Ropes, I'm out here at the Athletic Republic. I'm out here with Mr. Bernard Hackett. The road to 140, man. Let's talk about that.
Man, it's a tough road, man. He's ready. He's been working, weight coming down good. Like I told you before, we spent a lot of last year training and doing the physical preparation to get his body bigger and stronger. But now it's time to start letting that weight go and coming down. And he look good. He looks good. Focus and everything real good.
From all the talks I've been hearing, preliminary looking like it's roughly May, talking about the Staples Center.
Man, wherever they let him fight at, I don't care. I just want him to do what he wants to do, get into his career. I mean, he's been working for this since he was a child, man, and wherever, it don't matter wherever, we are, that's where we are.
I want to talk about the whole process. When you have different promotional companies coming at you, looking at your son, what's some of the deciding factors that were involved in this process?
I think I told you before, when we got into boxing, my son wasn't one of the guys that said, I want to win an Olympic gold medal. Boxing was new to him because everything we did in the beginning, I wanted him to play football. Go the traditional route, football, high school, college, and wherever it goes from there. He used to come to the gym with me, and he liked just everything about the sport. And when he made the decision he wanted to box, hey, it's your decision. But he never came in with the gold medal mindset. He was like, I want to be a professional fighter. So when he got to that point, when that was what he wanted to do, we sat down and we mapped everything out to be what he wanted to be. I think we took what most would consider the non-traditional route. I took my son all over the country to train, all over the country to spar. We did shows in other cities, other states, and it was about letting him see a bunch of different looks, see how different people fought at his age and as he got older. Once we did that, we started doing the tournaments. A lot of changes happened with USA Boxing, where they opened up the tournaments to a lot of the younger fighters. So it gave them a different path as the old traditional path. Do a lot of shows, silver gloves, and then once that's over, you just try to become an open class fighter and make a team. So that was to his benefit. He had a good amateur career, no complaints. We had some wins, some losses, some good fights, some bad fights. But all in all, it helped him get to be the athlete that he was wanting to be. When we fought the 2018 U.S. Championships at the end of the year, my son was like, hey, Dad, I'm done with the amateur boxing. I want to look and see what could be for me as a pro. And I told him, well, I told you when we make that decision, I want to take one complete year and focus on developing his body for that. In 2019, he only fought 2 shows. Everything was focused on us getting his body together. We did a lot of traveling, tried to get as many opportunities to spar with professional fighters as possible and learn the ropes. We were blessed to be able to work with a lot of different pros. I think all the pros who gave us different opportunities to work with. From Rashi Warren, Gary Russell, Antonio Russell, Antoine Russell, Tank Davis, so many more, Malik Hawkins. There's a lot of different fighters that gave us opportunities. We had the opportunity to go to Miami and work out in Coach Rubio's gym, spar with some of his guys. So these are different advantages and opportunities we got to see where we were before we made any great decision. Had a few different companies come to us and make us some respectable offers for his service. I do say that I think amateur boxing and pro boxing made so many drastic changes between 2018 and now to where the 16, 17-year-olds have become viable financial products. I think boxing spoiled itself over the last 20, 25 years. We had a great run where Floyd Mayweather controlled 2 dates on the calendar. Manny Pacquiao, he fought a lot of big fights. Canelo Alvarez. And boxing kind of ate off of 3 guys. But it seemed like those guys, as they got older, boxers sort of say, who do we look to next? And then just the changes that you saw. At one time you saw Golden Boy working with Al Hayman doing fights or whatever, how their situation was. But then when they went separate ways, the black fighter to me finally had an outlet. Al Hayman created an outlet for the black fighter, so that we weren't just the guy that got built up to fight the Latino fighter, and then after we fight him, we go back to being in the background. I think that was the greatest thing for African American fighters, to be able to be put in a situation where their just value was there. You saw a lot of great fights between black fighters that we may not have seen in the past because they may not have got another rematch if they lost or another opportunity. But look how many fighters that Adrian Bronner has fought, some wins and some losses, but still got opportunities to fight again. So I think those situations made it good for black fighters. I think other promotion companies started to see our work. You can have great mega fights, but without us being one of those guys, it doesn't happen. So when we looked to make the jump, we considered everybody who would talk to us, or we would be able to talk to them. But the one thing my son always wanted to do, he told me, I want to be represented and work with somebody who represents me. Not just a promotion company, but he wanted to deal with a promotion company that had his best interests at heart. And thanks to being able to be around good people and be able to talk to good people and get different insights, we were able to have early conversations with people like Sam Watson, who was in connection with Al Hayman. We've been able to, because of people like Derek Curry, been able to work with having conversations with the Mayweather promotion group, Leonard Ellerby, Floyd Mayweather. When my son was just blown away by the way that Mayweather Promotions kind of just, I don't know if you say, want to groom you. It wasn't like, oh, you want to turn pro, you want to fight, let's sign you, let's run. They actually are a different type of company, if you ask my opinion. My son has not officially signed a contract with them, and it was amazing to me to see the different opportunities they get for a young fighter. They opened up the way for my son to be able to go spar with Tank when he was getting ready two fights ago in Baltimore. That opened the way for him to go back a second time. Coach Calvin and that group was gracious enough to have us back again. I appreciate that. And it gave him an opportunity to get comfortable in front of a camera. They've gotten him the opportunity to do interviews with a lot of different media. And I think that's just as important in the growth of a young fighter as being signed by a promotion company and fighting. Being able to be groomed on how you do interviews, how you present, making sure that you're ready to be in that situation. Up until the time you actually put the gloves on and fight for the first time as a pro, they can still slow down and back up with you. But it's been great. You've done interviews with my son, and I think if you look at the early interviews that even you did with him, as opposed to now, he seems more comfortable. It seems more like he's mentally saying, I'm supposed to be here. And that to me is the part that goes far beyond boxing. A lot of times I've seen a lot of young fighters that I know. I'm happy that they've gotten the opportunity to fight with other major promotion companies. But they've been signed, and then it seemed like Monday I signed you, Friday you fight. But the maturation process wasn't part of that whole equation. And so whether it was making money too soon and not being prepared for it and making bad decisions, or whether it was not fully being prepared for fights, all those different things come into account when it's preparing a fighter. I wanted to groom my son in the ring to be prepared, but being around the right circle of people was grooming him to be prepared for both sides, not just the fighting, but the business aspect of it. And that's what I definitely appreciate people like Leonard Ellerby, Floyd Mayweather for. My son had a unique opportunity to be at a autograph signing with Floyd Mayweather, and just seeing how he conducted himself, how he spoke when people were asking questions. I think one of the things I really say he picked up on from there, you get some athletes, not just fighters, that become prima donnas. I don't sign autographs all the time. I'm gonna catch you next time. Floyd, who's at the height of athletics, not just boxing, he was stopping and signing autographs in between signing stuff. You like, hey man, you want to take a picture? Different people, different kids. And I think that was when you learned the part of never become too big for the people who back you. And I think a lot of times I've seen many athletes. I ain't signing no autographs today. I ain't taking no pictures. But if it's not for these young people, and it's mostly kids that run up to do that, if there's no them, there's no you. We get to a certain age as adults, we're not buying $200 pair of tennis shoes. But kids, they're the ones that fuel those things. So I think he learned that from that aspect. From Leonard Ellerby. I think Leonard Ellerby, him being able to talk to Leonard and say, how was this interview, or how was this? And having somebody like that to say, focus on this when you do your interviews. Answer this question this way. Be direct with what you do. I think all of that stuff is a plus for him. I think it's a plus. I've been able to play sports growing up, been able to do things with boxing as a coach more than just a fighter. But unless you've had somebody who's been in those situations, in those predicaments, you can't really prepare anybody for that. You know, that's rare air. It's the same as a young basketball player, Michael Jordan, taking a liking to you and say, hey, I want to groom you to do everything, not just dribble and dunk, but what do you wear to a fight? Where do you see yourself being 5 years from now? You know, all of those type of things I think make a big difference, and I appreciate that 100%. And to see them be willing to do it with a young fighter, number one. Number two, a young fighter who hasn't signed a contract with them yet, but just taking it off. I remember when they asked my son for the first time, you know, what is the concept, the joy, or the desire to be Mayweather ferocious? And he was saying that I wanted to be represented by people that know what I'll have to go through. And from that point, from that point, they just really were like, okay, we're gonna show you what you're gonna have to go through. And that was big to him. So being represented by somebody that knows him as a young black man, but also knows him as a young black athlete, I think that was the biggest thing for us. That was the biggest thing. That's what I got out of the most.
Now I gotta ask you, with Jaleel, like you said, with Jaleel being so young, what do you say to the critics out there who feel he's too young to start his professional career in boxing right now? That he should take his time and...
I think the criticisms that you hear, if you look at it, it's a lot of times it's about black boxers. You have quite a number of Spanish boxers who are turning pro even younger, 15, 14, 16. We don't hear that about them. You know, I'm glad they're doing what their heart calls for. But a lot of times I think the criticism is unfairly based. To me, if you've done your homework, you've done your due diligence, you put the time and effort in, and you made preparation for it, you can make that jump. There are some who should not do it. But then there are that rare one, that rare group, that talent and ability outweighs everything else. You know, and that's the part that I think you have to look at. If my son wasn't ready to be a professional fighter, I would take the coach's hat off, put the dad hat on, and say, no, you're not ready, you're gonna slow up. But he gives me everything I want. And I honestly put him in some climb up the hill situations in sparring, because I want to see what he does, how he reacts. And to say that he comes out like a rose more often than not. Has he taken lumps? Yes, I think every fighter will. But for where he is and his maturity level, I think he's ready. He's been focused to be ready.
What have you heard from some of the professionals that's had a chance to get in the ring with Jaleel?
They say he's ready. they say he's ready. When I've asked different coaches that I personally know to give me their critiques, they'll tell me things that they think he could do better, but they'll say he's ready. He has phenomenal punching power to be so young. That will only get better. He's mentally focused. And like I said, that period that we took, 2019 was the biggest piece of his career because we took that whole year to make the transition. So we're not saying, hey, we just won this tournament, we want to turn pro, fight in 30 days. We actually took one whole year to map out the process of doing it, and that has paid dividends for him.
It's interesting, going back on what you said with Mayweather Promotions, not only are they looking for a boxer, they also looking to groom him to speak outside of the ring, which is very important in the marketing process of a young fighter. Be like, can we market him? Is he able to speak well to do interviews and be out there in the public? Or like if different sponsorships wanted to reach out to him to sponsor certain products, is he able to speak well? So that's a great point that you made about that.
And I mean, honestly, how many promotion companies are really doing that? I mean, it's not a lot that are really saying, let me groom the fighter other than just being a fighter. And even less that are saying, I'll do that before I even jump the broom with you, so to speak, and you're a full-fledged one of our fighters. So, for them to do that, it shows me that they understood what he was saying when he said, I want to be represented by people who know the struggle of me. It wasn't just make me a fighter. That's what I think the biggest part of it. Hearing some of the conversations that he's been able to have with Leonard Ellaby have been great. Leonard asks him stuff like, where do you see yourself? How do you think you'll get there? Just putting out the right image that you want to present to people. My son doesn't have tattoos, he doesn't have earrings, he gets a haircut, any of those things. And when you look back at Floyd, if you look at the product he presented an NBA product and he was a boxer. Look at the way that he was on different magazines in the suit look. He's professional when he trains. When you look at him train, he got his shirt tucked in his boxer shorts. I mean, it's not like you hear people say, man, you better train hard unless you want to get a job like everybody else. He said, this is a job like everybody else. I just happen to be an athlete. That's the piece that I wanted my son to also understand. This isn't become the great boxer so you don't have to get a job. No, this happens to be boxing, but it is your job. And I think that's the one thing that Floyd portrays better than anybody else. Look at him. He's been out of boxing a couple of years now, and he still looks like he's in shape to fight in 3 months. So to me, that's what I got out of it. He battled boxing. Floyd took a chance on himself. He battled the sport. He battled the big table and got himself a seat at the big table. But that took a different level of focus and concentration that a lot of times, if you don't know what's coming, you won't be prepared for. My son is a very good fighter. But at times, I've asked him and I've told him, you're not always emotionally prepared to take this whole thing on. And I think the time has made him more emotionally prepared. I think being in the situations of being able to just be in the atmosphere has made it where he's understood this is a different playing field. And I think a lot of fighters just don't. Fighters make mistakes, but it may have been because they weren't mentally prepared to be in that situation. Physically, they were prepared. They've been preparing for that all their life. But the emotional part of coming into a different world, going from, I may have been a top amateur, but I was at home or I was in a more secluded family situation, to being in the spotlight is just a different thing. It's totally different.
You know, speaking of that, you know, like you said, want representation that look like us, that's been through the struggle. How important is it to see people of color now in that position of power in the sport of boxing, where you probably what you did not see in the past?
I think it's as important as having Barack Obama as the first black president. How many times did you see young black people say, I'm gonna grow up to be the president, before Barack Obama actually achieved it? When he achieved it, it made it real for young African Americans to say, I want to be the president. And I think in certain situations, it made it where they said, okay, before I become president, what do I have to do? Mayor, city council, all those things, the grooming process. So for the boxers to see somebody just like them go from being the Olympian to being the pro boxer to being the megastar to now being the promoter shows them that there are no heights that you can't attain if you're willing to put the work in.
Man, I really appreciate your time coming on,
Anytime,
just
man,
talking
anytime.
about the whole experience and what Jalil's going through for the road to 140 and giving your insight on Mayweather Promotions and why you chose, to really deal with them.
Yeah, I'm glad you always try and give the raw to people. A lot of times we just hear the superstar, but there's a lot that goes from the time you start to be a superstar, the sacrifices your family make to get you there. And I'm just glad that people like yourself wanting to document that and show it's not just add water and he's a star. It's a lot that goes into it.
Oh, before we go, man, I gotta ask you, man. We lost a great superstar and father, Brian. What does the Mamba mentality mean to you?
I think if you want to find the counterpart to Mayweather in another sport, it would be Kobe Bryant. Kobe dedicated himself, took the hard path, came straight from high school to the NBA, and gave everything to it. And I think you can correlate the two. He had his father who was a former NBA player. So he was brought up in that light his whole life. So for him to say, I'm going from high school to the league, it was a whole life that prepared him for that. And, he's going to be missed. I mean, he meant a lot to a lot of different people. The young people that got to see him play, got to see him in the second part of his life, I think it was a life cut too short. I think he still had a lot more that he wanted to accomplish. But, sometimes stars shine for a very short period of time, and they were put here for a reason, and his reason may have already been fulfilled.
Man, I really appreciate your time on the ropes today, as always.
No problem, bro.
Looking forward to it. The road
2020.
2020, road to 140.
Yes, indeed.
We out.